Hi, I'm Cynthia Lopez, and I've designed the planet pendant that you've seen in the article here. And I'm going to show you the bending of the wire and the technique I used for that. Now there's several possible tools you can use that I'll be showing you. But one of the things I want to show you is I picked up this copper wire. It's about a 12 gauge at Home Depot for 21 cents a foot. And I suggest starting out with that while you're learning this technique. And that way you're not using your good sterling wire. And once you master the technique, then you can move on to your sterling. Okay, besides the copper wire that I just showed you previously, I mentioned in the article that you can use bracelet mandrels. Here's one style, and I'm going to pick up another style and show you. Here's a ring mandrel. Depending on the size of your stone is where you would begin wrapping your wire. Here's another one. So we've got this one right here, and then making the bending the wire for the bail. I like to use wubbers because they're strong and they have the perfect shape. Here's an oval for the bail, and for perfecting your circles, you've got this large round plier that's just perfect for this. I'll use a chasing hammer, of course, a bench block, and if there's anything else I decide to use, I'll show you as we go along. Before you start wire wrapping or creating your circles, you need to determine the size of your stone, and that size, small or large, will determine where you start on the mandrel, because you want to get the first spiral as close to the size of the stone, because you're going to solder right along the edge of your base plate to hold the center in, and as you go around you'll create however many loops you want. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the small one we have 1, 2, 3, 4, well 5 as well, it just looks like more. You need to leave a 6-inch, at least a 6-inch tail for this purpose. Then you're going to form the bail with it. It's also going to strengthen the back of the piece because you're going to solder along each wire so that it doesn't have a lot of give and movement. And you're going to form this oval with the wubbers oval pliers if you happen to have them. So you determine on your mandrel the size, about the size of your stone. You would it doesn't have to be exact. And you start bending your wire around. And it might take a little bit of an effort at first. And you just bend, and you want the wire to spiral larger and larger. And you'll see as you compress it for the spirals that it's going to be the spirals will lay side by side, and you want to get about 5 or 6 rolls in there. I meant to tell you that I started out with about 30 inches of wire, and that leaves you with about a 6-inch tail to form the bail and solder along the back. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go around one more time and stop right there. Slide this off, and you've got your spiral going. I'm going to set this aside. Now I'm going to start. Well, you've got this flat side because that was hard to bend. You can take your wubbers round nose. I really like these large barrel type pliers, and bend the rest of that to make a nice round and spiral there. So I'm going to set these aside now and start compressing this down. Now this takes a little work with your hands, and you want these spirals tight, because the next thing we're going to do is hammer a texture, and that's going to spread these apart. Now that you've formed and flattened your spiral and it's fairly snug, you want to check the fit just real quick to make sure that, you know, it's wrapping around your bezel. Okay, and then you set that aside, and you're going to hold this down because it's really going to spread when you start hammering and putting a texture on your wire. So I'm going to just, any chasing hammer or any hammer with a texture that you like, and you start with your inner spiral and keep your wire as flat as possible. Now I'm not going to talk because I'm going to hammer. I've almost completed texturing the spirals. As you can see, look how nice that is coming out. Can you see that? Now I'm going to proceed hammering all along down the tail because I'm going to be using this and I want it to have the same texture as the spirals have. So I'm going to continue hammering for a while until I work my way down the tail. I'm going to get my Weber's flat nose here and do my first bend for initiating the bail. And you want a nice sharp bend right about there. So this is how we begin the forming process. Now I'm going to spread these out just a tad and start shaping where I want it to go. Now you can keep them close together like this, spread them a little further like this. The choice is yours. I mean, there's lots of different ways to go. We're going to start forming the bail now, and I'm going to use these wonderful oval shaped bail forming pliers, Weber's pliers, that are just great for this. They have a nice oval shape. And I'm going to use the smaller one that I'm going to bend against. As you can see right there how I'm going to do this. I'm going to now go place them right at the bend, that 90-degree bend I made. And I'm just going to push with my thumbs, holding the pliers very steady, and bring them down, and even and flat. And so I've started the formation. Now before I go any further, I'm going to bend it towards me to give it a little bend there. I guess you can see that. And now I'm going to bend this the other way. Now this might deform the spiral just a little bit, but we'll bring it back. Okay, we have begun to form the bail. Now one of the tricky parts right here is you want to get these to touch. So I'm going to squeeze. And sometimes what I do is I'll squeeze past it because you're going to solder that shut. Having done that, I would turn this over then and solder at least 3 wires to this. And right here, I'm going to set these aside. I would use, again, the round barrel wires to form my, well, I like to form a spiral. You can form whatever design you want. And this is what I'm going to solder onto the back of my, to the base plate. Again, here's my sample stone. If it were in a bezel, this would go behind it. Now I would probably cut this right about here. And that would give this whole pendant stability.